Well, hello everybody and welcome to today's mission. We're doing a special flight to the White House today as we depart Joint Air Force Base Andrews. This is, well, from the air you can tell that's the hangar for Air Force One, but the graphics have that thing miniaturized into like a little whatever. We are having a little bit of a flight control issue today, which would normally have this aircraft grounded, but the show must go on, so we'll continue as is with what we got.
Papa is type 1 mile southwest of Andrews 500 feet. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace.
November 1971 Lima Papa Potomac approach. Squawk 7036.
Squawk 7036 1 Lima Papa.
1 Lima Papa radar contact 1 miles west of Andrews 700 feet. Cleared through the Bravo airspace. Maintain on navigation.
Cleared through the Bravo airspace 1 Lima Papa.
As we depart Andrews here, it is about a 5-minute flight over to Washington, D.C. Normally the professionals in the Marine Corps with their Marine One helicopter can do this flight without any of the wiggling or jerking around that you see with me today, but I'm having some control issues with my HOTUS. I have adjusted the spring multiple times, and now that I've done that, it's like the cyclic is just catching, so I gotta figure out what we're going to do here. Maybe I'll just replace the whole flight control system. So as we get settled into our flight here, I'd kind of like to tell you guys a story that occurred on February 17th, 1974, when a 20-year-old Army private stole a Bell Huey aircraft from the flight line at Tipton Field, which is over there, I think, by Fort Meade. Private Preston had originally been in flight training and completed the first few segments prior to being dropped out of the flight school. And you know, once you raise your arm and you sign the paperwork and you're in the Army, well, they got you for 4 years, whether you're a helicopter pilot or whatever they make you do.
Potomac approach on 119.85. Good day.
Well, anyway, he wasn't.
19.851 Lima Papa. Potomac approach November 1971 Lima Papa 1,600 feet.
November 1971 Lima Papa Potomac approach altimeter 29.92 continue as planned.
Well, if I can get a word in edgewise here over ATC. Anyway, he was not happy being a helicopter mechanic. He believed his dream and his goal was to be a helicopter pilot, but because of navigation issues, he was dropped from the school. Well, anyway, he went back as a mechanic and stole a Huey helicopter and took off just after midnight. He had been eating dinner and had a dance at a hall. Well, first thing he did was land a helicopter there, then took off again and flew to Washington, D.C. Now, granted, this guy didn't pass his navigation test, but he did good enough to make it from Fort Meade to Washington, D.C. after midnight, following Map of the Earth or the Beltway lights. You know, back then they didn't have the fancy GPS and all that. It was all speed, time, and distance was your navigation. Well, as he came into Washington, D.C., an alert air traffic controller spotted him and immediately dispatched a Bell 47. That's one of those little MASH helicopters, piston-driven. Nice helicopter, but back in '74, it still could not keep up with that Army Huey, so the 47 gave up the chase and they contacted two state police Bell 206B model Jet Rangers. Were able to, as the pilots described, engage in modern day air-to-air combat with helicopters, chasing this old boy, flying just mere inches above the traffic on the interstate. as he approached the Lincoln Memorial, which is right up here off my nose, and the Capitol building over here. He was flying so low to the ground, he actually caused one trooper to wreck. And one of the Rangers actually lost sight of him, and he was able to evade that one Ranger. Well, the other pilot kept on the chase, and eventually Preston made it to the White House and landed a mere 300 feet from the entrance. We're going to have to make our approach here soon, ladies and gentlemen. Got the Pentagon to our left, we got the Lincoln Memorial here. We'll go ahead and orbit to the left, come over here. Anyway, he landed the first time at the White House. Now back then, 74, that was President Nixon. Well, neither Nixon nor the First Lady were at home, so they had no idea what happened. Okay, cliff note here, or side note. The Washington Monument is missing from my graphics. I've tried everything to tune it up. I've even downloaded the new expansion thing or whatever, and I'm still not able to get the monument back. So as we make our final approach into the White House, Preston took off, flew again back towards the Capitol and the downtown area. Oh, my flight control issues. I've lost my cyclic. I have no cyclic control. Oh boy. Yeah, having no cyclic's not good. If I get my control back here. It catches on me. That's not good at all. Oh boy. Anyway, let's wrap up the story. Preston came back and landed at the White House a second time. This time the Secret Service was waiting on him. And they opened up with machine guns, handguns, shotguns. And they put over 300 rounds into that Huey, 5 of which struck Preston, causing superficial injuries. Even though he had been struck 5 times, he was still able to get out of that helicopter and make a dash to the White House here. And he did not make it. He was tackled immediately by a Secret Service agent who handcuffed him, and later he was wheeled into the hospital giggling and laughing. And well, the end of the story here is we touched down. Preston was later court-martialed. He must have had one of them dang good lawyers, because he was given a $100 fine or something like that, or $1,000 at the time, for trespassing on the White House grounds and misappropriation of a U.S. government property, that Huey. He later on got married, had 2 kids. Unfortunately, he just passed back in 2009 from cancer. But today, that story lives on with military aviators. And that Huey is actually, if you Google it, on display at one of these here flight museums, where you can go out and visit it. There's also photographs, and on YouTube here, there's video from the media from that morning showing the Army taking that helicopter and flying it off the White House grounds. Although that thing had been struck 300 times, it was still error-worthy to take off and leave, unlike my current flight control system with the spring tore out of my HOTUS, and we will be getting that fixed pretty soon. Well, anyway, if y'all enjoyed today's video, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to test your skills at flying to the White House from Joint AFB Andrews, you can definitely do it on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Y'all, thank you once again for spending your valuable YouTube viewing time with me, and take care now. See ya.